Okay, for starters, there's a couple of things that are really going to affect whether or how long your paint will last, or at least stay high quality in your airbrush bottle. First is how you buy your paint and what quantities. And secondly is how you store it or fill your bottle. So we're going to touch on that right now. So there's a theory that I have, and I think it makes a lot of sense. When you buy airbrush paint, obviously when it comes straight from the company, it's at its best, and it starts to deteriorate from that point. A lot of it has to do just with exposure to air. For example, every time you open this cap, new air goes in the bottle. But my theory is, and perhaps more importantly, is there's a lot more space, air space, in the bottle once you empty it. So it's about halfway right now. So that's two problems. You got new air that degrades the paint, but perhaps more importantly, the sides of the bottles dry up. And so what happens after you let it sit there for a month or two, you come back to fill a bottle, or even if it's a week, and you shake it up because you want to get all the particulates mixed up, diluted into the mixture again. But you're breaking off some of that paint that's dried up on the sides, and also, I can't get this off with one hand. This is what happens when you don't have a cameraman. But anyway, I'm sure you're familiar with the caps and what they look like over time. They accumulate a lot of paint around the threads inside the cap and on the bottle. And some of those parts actually might fall, the paint might actually fall into the bottle as you're trying to open or close the bottles. So I deliberately clean mine. I just rinse them out with water. If that's enough, I'll pass a paper towel through them. So they always look fresh. I would show you in this bottle, but I can't. So my goal is to keep the bottles as small as possible. It is more economical to buy these 32 ounce or even gallon size, and I am losing a little bit of value from my paint because I spend a little more. But I'm sort of a minimalist when it comes to paint. I buy as little as I think I can get away with for at least 2 months. And a lot of times it lasts much longer than that, up to 6, 8 months, depending on my business. So for example, like colors like green, I don't use a whole lot of with the samples that I provide my customers for events. So a little bottle like that will last longer than this bottle, big bottle of black, because black we use all the time. So again, minimalist thinking when I'm buying, buy as little as I can. And sometimes I'll even go as far as, like, this bottle is half full. What I should do if I wanted to, optimize this system is pour it into a smaller bottle. This is 16 ounces, so this is 8. I would just fill up this entire 8-ounce bottle. Again, leaving less air inside the bottle to degrade the paint. Sometimes I'm busy and it's just not worth it. Lastly, these are the bottles that I use for airbrushing. They're the 2-ounce chemical resistant bottles. Anyway, they are smaller. Some people like to use a 4-ounce, but again, the philosophy I'm talking about, less air in the bottle. Plus, I'll use it up faster, which means it doesn't have as much time to degrade in the airbrushes. And since I'm traveling with airbrushes, sometimes my airbrushes do have to sit in the back of my truck on a hot day in Florida, and who knows what that does to paint. It's probably not as bad as freezing the paint, but it can't be good for it. So what I do is, let me just show you this. Explain a lot. So what I did is I ordered a lot of these bottles, and I'll put the link in the description of where to find them, and these caps. You can buy them separately for pennies. All right, so you buy literally dozens of bottles and caps like I've done here. There's probably more in storage, but some of these are full, some of these are empty, and I keep them pretty original: red, pink, yellow, blue, black, and so on. And when I order a big bottle of paint, whether the yellow or even a black, I'll fill as many of these 2-ounce bottles as I can. So that does two things. Obviously, it keeps the air inside the bottle a lot less. It'll sit here in the nice, cool environment of this room in the dark for months, maybe years. But the coolest part about having a system like this is when my bottle in my airbrush, my portable airbrush station runs out at an event, I just have an extra one of these. For example, if I run out of red, I have a red, and I get all the colors, at least one of each. And I just swap out the bottle, but keep the siphon attached to the airbrush. So I'm just swapping out bottles like cartridges in a, I guess in a hand. You put your bullets in, the shells pop out. That's sort of what I'm doing here. So this is my ammunition, I guess. I got this is airbrush cleaner, and in the other video, actually, if you haven't seen my other video on how to clean airbrushes, I highly recommend it. This is a bottle that I'll put on my airbrush station. And it usually has a siphon on it, so I can just clean as I'm painting if I get a little clog or whatever. I'm actually using, believe it or not, windshield washer fluid. Not because it works great. It works a little better than water, but not much. But it's just so cheap. I think you can buy a gallon of it for less than $2. It's good enough, and frankly, I almost never clean my airbrushes when I'm at an event, which is exactly how I like it. I don't want customers seeing me spraying, cleaner into a rag or anything like that, because of the way I maintain my airbrushes. But perhaps more importantly, because of the way I store my paint. This paint, I never have to strain it, and all I have to do is shake it up. And in another video, I'll show you how I put additives in my paint and what kinds. But I'll shake it up before I go, and I'll shake it up before I actually start the gig, because sometimes those additives separate. But I almost never get clogs anymore. The paint is always fresh. Occasionally I'll have to take my siphons off the airbrush and rinse those out, and that's what these are for. I use the toothbrush to clean the inside of the bottle and inside the caps under running water. I don't use any soap or anything like that. Don't need it. This is my favorite toothbrush. I got plenty of toothbrushes, but I only use this one only because over time it started to curl. And that's good when you want to reach the bottom of the airbrush, because most toothbrushes only have the bristles going out to the side. I can actually scrub the bottom of the airbrush bottle with this. I've never seen a toothbrush do that. I'm going to try to keep this one for as long as I can. This is for cleaning the siphons and little breather holes. Just a dentist tool. And of course I got some pipe cleaners to run it actually through the straw of the siphon to clean those out. So I think I covered everything. I'm curious if you guys have hacks for filling bottles or preserving paint or even straining paint. I'm always looking for hacks. It saves time, saves money. At an event, since I'm not cleaning airbrushes anymore, it always just looks more professional, as though I come prepared. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Take care.